guys. This is Charles and Tamara.
We're here opening to Spirit, Conversations with Charles Robinson, and I'm your host, Tamara Newman. And we here, basically our purpose is to open up conversations about the spiritual aspect of the human experience and helping people, specifically people who are looking for answers to questions, wanting to understand more about the spirit, about maybe different shifts in perception that they're having, maybe more of an expanded view that they're seeing in their life and wanting to know some answers. We're here with Charles Robinson. He's our teacher and transformational healer. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit, well, generally speaking, what we're going to do is talk 15 minutes or so about our subject for the day, and then afterwards we'll open it up to questions that we find on the comments under our live feed, right? But today we're a little short of time, little technical difficulties, so what we're going to do is just, talk about our subject for today, which is about transformation. Transformation, transforming the past, the pain of the past to power in the present. So, opening up to Charles.
Yeah, transformation I think is a really important topic because a lot of people that have worked with me, we've come to the understanding that you can't get rid of anything. A lot of times I think we spend a lot of time and energy trying to get rid of stuff. And in truth, you can't get rid of things. You can't destroy like a part of yourself. So memories, things that you've gone through, experiences that you've had, we can't get rid of them. But what we can do is transform them. So it's like everything that we've gone through, every experience that we've gone through, every experience that we've had is valuable from the standpoint that it allows us to really be able to take that information, take the experience and the information that we gained from the experience and to transform it into something else. This is an opportunity to begin to look at things that have been troubling to us, things that are upsetting, things that are conflicting, and taking those things and allowing them to move into another dimension of life. Sometimes the way we hold on to things in a way that causes us suffering. So in essence, we see the whole world through the lens that we've created based on these experiences that we've had. So our work here in part is to open up a forum to be able to have these conversations, because in essence we're all going through this type of suffering, this suffering that's brought about by a lack of understanding, by a lack of clarity, and also the big thing, as I said this evening, is the fact that we hold on to things and we try to get rid of them versus transforming them. So what we'd like to do is talk a little bit about how to transform things. So for example, we have an experience, we go through an experience. That experience actually creates an environment that we find ourselves living in mentally. And as a result of living in that environment, everything around us is a reflection of how we perceive ourselves in that environment. In other words, we still see ourselves just as if, this event or this situation had happened just a few minutes ago. We're still seeing ourselves based on the nature of how this experience unfolded. So our work here is to help people find ways to take the experience and in our minds transform it into something else. So one of the latest teachings that's been coming up is the difference between obstacles and opportunities. So for example, we could see things as obstacles, like when you go through a negative experience, something that is very painful, very upsetting, we usually see that as an obstacle, something that showed up on the pathway of life, interfered with our ability to find joy and happiness, and basically restricted us from our joy. So we could look at that as being a major obstacle. Or we could look at it as an opportunity for growth. Maybe as a result of going through that particular experience, we have more awareness, we have more understanding, we have more compassion, we have more, just empathy for people around us that may be going through the same thing. Or maybe we discovered a way out of the conundrum that we found ourselves in, and maybe we can help others find their way out of it too. So I think if we hold on to it in a very negative way, and we prevent ourselves from growing, or we prevent ourselves from seeing the bigger picture, it's like we end up stuck and in a very toxic, a very negative place. So our work in essence is to take whatever it is that we've been going through, whatever it is that we've been struggling with, and begin to find ways to transform it.
And what ways have you found that it's easier for people to transform? I know you work with a lot of people who are needing that help, and it has helped them, but how have you found works best for people in terms of transformation?
I think for one thing is to be aware of the event or the situation that they've gone through. I developed a process probably about 15 years ago called the Anchors process, and the Anchors process has been a really valuable process from the standpoint that it really helps people to look at the events that they've gone through and actually understand what they said about life as a result of going through those particular events. Life is unfair. People are never there for me. People always betray me. Whatever it is that was concluded as a result of the experience that people have gone through, those are what we call the messages. So in other words, we go through a painful experience where, for example, someone leaves or someone betrays us in some way or another. We come to certain conclusions about that situation, and then which is based on what's called the initial reaction. And then once we have that initial reaction or message, then we usually take that initial reaction or message and have it becomes a global message. So for example, people always leave. The initial message was that people leave me. Then we take that message and turn it into a global message where people always leave me. So we start globalizing it, we're seeing it as being everyone leaves me. So we start living our life out of that system of thought that everyone leaves me. So usually we gravitate unconsciously, it's not deliberate, but unconsciously towards situations with people that always leave, because we have that belief system in place.
Right, so bringing yourself into that awareness of that's what you're doing, right?
Right.
Seeing that you have this pattern of that way of thinking.
Right.
And then after that, how do you switch it up? How do you know?
Well, the next level is once you realize that you have this global statement that people always leave me, we start realizing that we not only stop there, the mind just doesn't stop there with people always leave me. The mind actually personalizes it, and it becomes a very personal thing. Like I am always being left by people. I'm always being abandoned by people. So that becomes the anchor. The anchor is that I am always being abandoned by people. I am always being left by people. So we have that at an unconscious level. It's at a level where we're holding on to it, we're resentful, we gravitate unconsciously towards people and situations that fulfills that prophecy, fulfills that belief. So the transformational part happens when we identify what we needed that we didn't get when we were in that particular experience. So that's the point of transformation. And my support to people as a transformational life coach has been to basically identify one word. One word. And this comes actually from a Bible quote where it says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God. It didn't say the words or the paragraphs or the sentences or the book. It was the Word. So the Word is the point of transformation. The Word is is the point where we can shift it into a new paradigm. For example, what we may have needed was commitment. Maybe what we needed in that experience was commitment. So that becomes our new focus. The new focus is commitment. I'm willing to give myself and allow other people to show up in my life who are committed.
I like the way that you say, I'm willing to give myself.
Yes.
This isn't that you're dependent on other people to give that to you, but you are willing to give that to yourself,
Right.
which is really a big piece.
Yeah, so this is the whole thing behind transformational coaching and support, is that you have to give it to yourself before you can allow anyone else to give it to you. A lot of times we try to get it from the world around us, and we're not aligned to receive it. So even if people would show up and try to give it to you, it's like we're not there to receive it. It's like we're somewhere else. We're in, basically where we are is that we're in that belief system that we never get support from people. So we're like out of sync, out of balance. Someone's shown up at your they're looking for you at your house, but you're in another house. You're like in another place. So they've shown up in your house looking for you, trying to get you to receive love and support and validation. But because your mind believes that people never show up for me, people always abandon me, then we end up not being available to receive the gift.
That's interesting.
We end up not, because we're in some other house.
A self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, we're in a self-fulfilling prophecy. And like in the Course in Miracles, it says a lot of times we would rather be right than happy.
That is absolutely
We'd rather be right about, we become very self-righteous about these, I see them in essence as limiting beliefs. So these limiting beliefs actually prevents us from finding freedom, finding joy, finding happiness, finding a sense of liberation, because we're so like passionate about like what we've concluded when we were in those very painful or those very traumatic events.
So I'd rather be happy, or I'd rather be right about people don't show up,
Right.
than being happy that maybe people do show up, I just wasn't there, right? Or that kind of idea of that.
Because we have a perception of the world, we have a perception of ourselves, and we have a perception of the world around us, and that perception is based on conclusions that we've come to as a result of experiences that we've had. So this work, in essence, is about changing our mind. And when you change your mind, then you align with life in a different way.
That's beautiful.
So this is really the mechanism. The mind is such a beautiful gift. It depends on how we use it. We can use it to create heaven or create hell.
And this is everyone across the board.
Right.
This isn't just for certain people that are suffering. We all go through this at different points of our life, and we could keep unraveling those pieces in our life all the time.
Yeah, this is for everybody. This is not like, you have to have some type of problem or illness or this or that or whatever. This is, like you said, we all go through very powerful experiences. We all come to these conclusions or these beliefs about life, and we live our life out of these beliefs, and it's like we've locked ourselves in a very controlled, well-defined container.
Right.
And then usually we end up living this experience over and over and over again, and which causes a lot of suffering, causes a lot of pain. So our work here is to begin to change the mind. When we change the mind, then we align ourselves with life in a different way. The spirit of truth, the spirit of opportunity, the spirit of possibility is able to flow into us. But it's not there if we're not there. We have to show up.
Exactly.
I think that's the big thing, is showing up. When we look at the real issue is showing up.
Showing up. Yes, that's beautiful. Saying that I'm needing this, or
Right.
or help me, or just awareness.
Right. And it's about asking too, because you can't answer a question that hasn't been
And
asked.
that's why we're doing this.
So this is really
asking the right questions.
So what we'd like to do is to really set this forum up to be a really powerful environment for people to ask questions, to begin to explore issues that that you may have, so we can have this available for the community. Initially, like anything starting, there's always initially figuring out the technology and figuring out bits and pieces of it, but again, that's the beautiful part of the process. That's also very rewarding, because we get to discover things along the way, and we get to actually get into a nice rhythm, and this is it's challenging, because anything new that starts is not quite flowing the way we would like it to flow initially.
Right, especially if it's live and,
Yeah.
and out there.
Yeah.
But also too, it gives us an opportunity to find out what people really need or
Right.
want.
Right.
And so within just these 15 minutes that we've had this conversation, hopefully you may have some questions that you're wanting to ask, or this gets people can still see this, right? Because it's
Right.
recorded.
Right.
So if there's any questions you might have coming out of this conversation after watching it, then if you could post it in the comments, and then next week we can begin a little bit by looking at those, going over those questions, and maybe
Yeah, we want to have this be a forum for serious inquiry into parts of our life that we need to explore. So the questions actually will help set the stage for upcoming discussions or upcoming presentations and interactions. So your questions, I think, actually sets the environment for the continued work that we have going on. So, and it gets better, I think, as we get into a nice rhythm, a nice flow, then it gets better. The communication, the back and forth, the building of a forum, ongoing discussion, ongoing awareness, and then following this is our meditation that we have every Wednesday. So we will continue to open this up, and get this energy flowing, get this information out, and talk about things that some people have been requesting information on, or wanting to have a forum to have these conversations. So I want to thank people that came on board this evening and joined us, and we'll be here again next week, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we'll continue to do the work. We'll actually probably start a little earlier in terms of preparation, just so that we'll be able to read the questions and actually come on a little bit more focused in terms of what people are asking. We can actually go through the questions and just start addressing them one by one. So
right, we're going to perfect it. We'll perfect it.
We're getting there.
Yes, right.
So many blessings to everyone, and
Many
for
blessings.
folks that were online and that normally come on, we're probably be in the next 10 minutes or so, we'll be starting our meditation. So if you'd like to stay around for that, the Sacred Sanctuary meditation will be broadcast shortly. So be blessed, and we'll talk soon. Thank you. This is Charles and Tamara.
Tamara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.